G'day everybody. So this is my next little series of vegan or agricultural means of growing our nation, defending our nation. Okay, so this time it's going to be about bushfires. How we can fight bushfires in a state of emergency with non-government forces. So again, this is leaning towards a volunteer service of some description, whether it's militia, whether it's just a volunteer service that's way more flexible than rural fire, the state emergency service, and and it's also self-funded and nothing to do with professional services. Okay, so fighting fires. Again, like I keep saying, multi-purpose uses for equipment. Okay, so in my other videos we talk about making vehicles out of plastics and laminates and things like that are all grown, whether it be bamboo, hemp, it doesn't matter. Fiberglass, like fiber reinforced polymers, etc., etc. So I've talked about an amphibious four-wheel drive vehicle, or even two-wheel drive of the same variant. It's very cheap to produce. Little cheap planes, float planes that can skim water, rivers, lakes, etc. Fill up their floats with water and then be used for dive bombing fires. Okay. Drones. You could use drones for fighting fires, swarms of drones. Now, another element is I can't see why mortar companies, mortar battalions, so militia guys trained in the use of mortars, artillery and anti-tank. Australia has no rocket artillery. Okay, so is there ways that we can make and use firefighting equipment that can also be used as weaponry that are used by volunteers en masse? We don't, and because they have range, mortar, artillery, rocket artillery, etc., has long range, so we don't need to go where the rural firefighters are going, where the professional firefighters are going, etc. We can go onto school ovals, people's properties that are away from the fire danger zones, and we keep the roads clear for all the professional emergency services. But we can engage fire by using volley fire from artilleries, mortars, plane bombing, drones, etc., etc. And just like all tactics, you don't attack where the fire is strong. You attack where the fire is going to be weak. So, for example, if you have a mountainside, the fire always rushes up the mountain. Okay, so whether you hit the downward side of the mountain, hit into the gullies where there's lots of little ravines and gullies, and you hit in those areas where the fire is going to be traveling slower, and you can just slow down the effects of the fire. Crossing open fields. Back in the day when there was no rural fire and no trucks, if there was grass fires, guys would have to get wet cloths and beat the fire. That's what they used to do. So surely we could beat it with firefighting artillery shells. Whether we're using weight of water or sand or a combination of both. So then if it's filled with gel balls or a water swelling device that might be used in, say, a garden or something, and you fill the shells with that, so that creates stability in the shell. You don't have liquid that's moving all over the place. They could be air burst above the ground, proximity fuses or something like that, timed fuses, or impact. impact will help put out fires, but at the same time, a cooling mist will also cool down the intensity of the fire. These things could also be used to throw into the middle of the fire. And again, it's from a safe distance and it's not disturbing the professional services. It's to, if anything, complement them. And you can get into more mortars, especially, and artillery howitzers can really get into these areas over here, because it's mainly eastern southern Australia in the mountain ranges, where a hell of a lot of the fire, we have a fire season here, and it's these places that are, where the worst of the fires are going. But those same places, they're our wooded and they're our forests as well. That's where a lot of animals live, So things have been managed wrong for a long time. I've seen things where Aboriginals have a cool burn off, where they don't let the ground cover get too full of fuel on the ground. In the right conditions, they have a cool burn, and it only burns very lightly, and they actually see the guys walking around. So these are things that can be taken on board. I've seen many shows over years and years and years where this tactic's been used. So this is what you use before fire season comes. It's about reducing the fuel on the ground, but for some reason it's not implemented. Okay, so there used to be back burning, but they've stopped that to, try and keep all the greenies and the extremists and this agenda that's meant to scare us about global warming, and it's retarding our economies and things like that. So we can make everybody happy by having cool burns, but having also other things in place. So now, getting back to the weaponry side of things, okay, these are cheap weapons, basically made of, replacing carbon fiber or Kevlar, which are man-made products, replace them with natural products. So reinforced resins, fiber reinforced resins that are from all of the usual suspect agricultural plants, whether that's like a rocket tube, for a Carl Gustav, or some type of a rocket launcher, or a multiple rocket launcher system that's either towed on the back of four-wheel drives on small trucks. Again, the planes. Now, these could also be used for lighting ahead of the main fires. They could be used for creating backburning in front of the fires, where the main fire front is coming. We could also start multiple layers of backburning, and then in strategic places, not just randomly, of course. I'm not just saying just light more bushfires and but fight fire with fire. Where it needs to be done and strategically done, light fires. And then again, let them burn out in those areas, and then where they're going to naturally start to reduce their intensity because of the terrain, that's where you try and fight that's where you put the main effort, So again, we can put research and development into firefighting equipment and then dial it in and work out what is a very cost-effective multi-rolled system for fighting fires, but also can be warfighting capabilities for self-defense of our nation, and at the same time, these mortar brigades, these artillery brigade, anti-tank guys, the guys in the planes, more rocket batteries, they can be put into service, and they treat it as if it's a war zone. There's so many benefits for learning your equipment under stress, the logistics support, how everything comes together, communications, scrambling the population to get to these places without interfering with emergency services, without interfering with retreating, citizens from the danger zones. So these are all things that can they have multiple uses. And then at the end of it, if you do pull off and you save farmers farmers' cattle, if you save native animals, you save native like rainforests, you saved local communities. Look at the fences. Every time there's huge bushfires, the amount of fencing that is destroyed, the amount of infrastructure, power lines and things like that are destroyed. You know, a little bit of money up front can save a lot of money down the track. And then our guys get, I can only see it as win-win. The guys get training on the ground. The researchers and developers and the producers are getting use and field trials of equipment. We're guaranteeing a crop for farmers. We've got multiple uses, so we just keep growing it, and we will keep using it because we got so many products that we can use. Replace the cotton with other things, you know. And then there's also the community spirit. It builds spirit. You get people from all over the states and local council areas, from other states and all around the nation. We come together and we back up each other. So the Southeast Queensland Division, or the Queensland Division of Artillery and blah blah blah, they've been fighting the fires for 12 hours, 16 hours straight. Now they get replaced by the New South Wales, which then gets replaced by the Northern Territory, etc., etc. And then we start having these encampments where we're meeting Aussies all over the place. We make friendships, and we get to travel the country at a no profit cost. Okay, encourages us to buy these vehicles, make these cheap vehicles so people will buy them. It's not saying that we're going to never buy a normal sedan vehicle ever again, or we're never going to get rid of petrol completely. But this is strategically and tactically bolstering our nation. You know, so just a little bit more food for thought. Thank you.